Elections are on Tuesday. You're gonna need this lesson.
Electoral College 101.
Do we got a pen? Do we got paper? Do we got our thinking caps on? Because this one's gonna smart.
United States' first DEI program, and then all of a sudden, everybody has problems with DEI and
All right. First, we gotta draw the United States.
Now, this isn't an easy thing to do, and some of you are like, Joanna, that's not how you draw Texas. Listen, I'm doing the best we can. I don't know if the panhandle deserves all of my attention. I do enjoy this mitten, though. Just gonna do a little Wisconsin, a little Minnesota, little jaggedy thing all the way back over. Not so bad. Remember that I am Canadian. Let's throw in a couple states for fun, right? We got Washington over here. I'm going to put a number there. Don't worry about the number. I'll explain it in a little minute. We have a California here. Don't complain about how small my California is. We got 54. You got a little Texas. 40. Whew! Texas is big. Texas is big. You got Wisconsin. You got Minnesota. Wisconsin, 10. Minnesota, 10.
I really do like the twins.
Can't forget Michigan. Why? Because it's really, really cute, and it's a mitten. You got New York over here somewhere at 28. You got Florida with Mickey Mouse down here at 30. I think we have a little bit of a representation. Now let's jump right into the mess, shall we? All right, here we go. In 1787, the United States writes its Constitution. Some of you are going to say 1776. That's not the Constitution. That's the Declaration of Independence. We're not just talking about Jefferson here. Now, the first family fight you all had as a country was how are you going to choose your president? Now, here's the biggest problem. The North and the South were equal populations. However, the South had a boatload of slaves that elevated their population, but they wouldn't let them vote. So the problem was, when they were going to do by popular vote, the North was going to clean sweep the elections and always choose the president. You think if your roots were slavery, you'd want to change some things about your Constitution, but oh no, you want to hold tight to everything. Here's an underpinning. Initially, they passed something called the 3/5 Clause. What that meant was, for all the southern states that were utilizing human beings as slaves and property, they wanted at least 3/5 of them, which they got, to count as actual voting people. They didn't let them vote, but then the other southern voters actually had an elevated chance in order to effectively negotiate who the president was going to be. They didn't let them vote, but they count them in how many electoral college votes they got. Let me explain the Electoral College. Here's how it works. They didn't want direct elections because if it was just by popular vote, here's where the DEI comes in, then farmers and slave owners would be way outvoted, right? So what did they do? They created something called the Electoral College, and they had 538 electoral votes sitting there. So in order to win the presidency, you need a majority. So you need 270 electoral college votes. But how does each state get a vote? Every other country has actually changed this to a direct democracy, but hey, all right, now each state gets at least 2 based on the fact that they all have 2 senators per state. So no matter how itty-bitty Maine is, no harm, no foul Maine, you get at least those 2 votes in the Electoral College plus whatever your population and vote is in the House of Representatives. You add those 2 together and you get a certain number of electoral college votes. He ever talks about how the electoral college was created when there was absolutely no political parties and George Washington jumped ship as soon as it got insane. Here's where it gets messy. So each individual state has a certain amount of votes based on their electoral college, right? So Texas gets 40, California 54, Washington 12, Minnesota 10, Wisconsin 10, Michigan. Do you get the picture? And if I've left out your state, don't come at me. These were the easiest to draw, and then the numbers all worked out. All right? Let's use Wisconsin and Minnesota's example. Why? Because they both have 10 each, okay? They both have 10 votes. So, they both have elections. Whoever wins the state wins all of their electoral votes, right? So they each have approximately 5 million people. Minnesota, Wisconsin both have a vote. Now here's the interesting part. Let's say the Republicans win Minnesota, pull it together Minnesota, but they win it and they get 78% of the 5 million votes. You with me so far? Wisconsin votes Democrat and they vote it with an 87% majority. Way to go, Wisconsin. No bias here. Here's the problem. They also get 10 of the Electoral College votes, but almost 10% more of people in Wisconsin actually voted Democrat. So when you add up the popular vote, technically the Democrats are ahead, but it doesn't matter to the Electoral College. Wait till they find out electorals don't even have to vote the way their state tells them to vote, for crying out loud. So, once all the numbers from all the states are tabulated and we decide who's got this 270 votes or more required in order to become president of the United States, there could be a big difference between popular vote, how many votes did you get from Americans, and actually electoral college votes. And if those two differ greatly, in my opinion, you tend to have one disaster of a presidency. It's brutal. I think Harrison only lasted like 6 months. The first Bush, whew. And yes, Donald Trump. And a tidbit to leave in all of your heads, this has tried to be changed 700 times. 700 times. American congressmen have gone to the legislature to change this process to make it more democratic, to make it more representative. And if one of you says you're a republic, not a democracy, I'm going to send you to the back of the class. You're going to have to stay late and just write out lines.